Hey, my name is Scott Niska and I am Tactacam Senior Creative Director. I wanted to welcome you to Habitat IQ's new content series, The Blueprint. I live in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, and if you know anything about the UP, it's that we get a lot of snow.
Lake effect snow warning remains in effect.
This past winter up here in the Keweenaw Peninsula, we got 360 inches, and for a whitetail to navigate that much snow in a winter, they have strength in numbers. So they all go to deer yards in lower snow areas, and some of our deer will travel 5, 10, 15 miles to get to their yards. And the other thing that they have working against them is the number of predators that we have here. We have your typical bobcats and coyotes, but to add to the mix, we have wolves up here. Wolves really impact our deer herd. Black bears, and black bears are definitely the #1 predator of whitetail fawns. And we also have the occasional mountain lion that comes through. So between our winters here and the number of predators that we have here, our whitetails really face a lot of adversity throughout a given year. So beyond the challenges that our whitetail herd faces, building a good whitetail property up here can be challenging as well. Our growing season is really short. It's pretty much June until October. And then as soon as the first snows start to fall, your food plots start to get covered, you pretty much have to supplemental feed after that if you want to hold your deer on your property. So my farm here, really been blessed with the opportunity to put together 200 acres up here. It's not a small parcel by any means, and really what we're working with here is a ton of cover. Probably 90% of my farm is just strictly cover. So I have a lot of browse, I have a lot of young forest here. I have a lot of mature forest. We have pine, we have hemlock, we have cedar swamps, we have hardwoods, we have aspen stands. So they have food, they have cover, and we have water on the property. I have a spring and I have a little river that flows most of the year. What I have found is that I actually have to open this property back up. Historically, there was cattle on this farm, and so I'm finding those areas where they had pastures and really just trying to open those pastures back up, put high quality food in there just to pull the deer into a location. Just try to shape this farm into something that's both huntable, that holds deer, and that there are features and food here that they want to come in and stick around for. So let's go take a look on the farm. We're going to look at what happened last year that I didn't see when I was in the stand. We're going to put it into Habitat IQ and see what kind of property plan we can build for this year. All right, so this is my clover plot. I put it in 2 years ago, and the deer have quickly learned that it's a high quality food source. The challenge up here is that our growing season is so short, but if you get a perennial crop established, you're just that much farther ahead because our snow melted off probably 3 weeks ago. As soon as it got green, the turkeys and deer were on it really fast. And I don't get to start planting anything until maybe early June, before the soil temp is warm enough to really put anything in the ground. So growing perennials here, you know, it gives you 6 more weeks to really have a crop for the animals to eat up at the start of the season. So one beautiful thing about living and having a deer property in snow country is that I don't have to do any TSI because Mother Nature does it for me. With 300 plus inches of snow last year, it has created so much bedding area in here in the areas that I want there to be bedding that I don't have to come in here with a chainsaw and do it because the snow did it for me. So this area is on the far west side of my property, and it's been one of my favorite areas to watch from my cameras. I don't hunt this because there's just a ton of bedding that surrounds this whole area, but as you can see by these rubs here, bucks love this zone of my farm. From end of October through November, this is the busiest area of my farm. It's just because there's so much bedding around it. What I'm gonna do this summer, I think I'm gonna try to get food in here, give them a reason to be here longer than just that November timeframe, and then also try to get a blind back here where I can hunt it that November 5th to the 15th kind of time frame. And this is really an area where I tend to see new bucks show up first. This is an old cattle pasture that we're in. This is really an area that I have the opportunity to do something with, to put food in. I haven't planted anything here yet. We've got an apple orchard here that really pulled the deer in between the middle of October as long as the apples go. Last year we had a really good apple crop, so they were here. They actually stuck around all winter, which I've never had before, but under this tree right here, we have a bunch of scrapes. They started opening up at the end of October. I shot a deer under this apple tree last fall, but I think if I can put more food is just going to give them another reason to be in here, and to be in here earlier than the end of October, so maybe I can have an opportunity early in October. So this is the stream that flows through our property. It can dry out in the middle of the summer. For the most part, we always have flowing water here. One thing I like to do, especially in the springtime like we're in right now, is walk along this and find where these deer are crossing. The big advantage to getting out here right when the snow is gone is you see everything that happened last fall that you didn't see, happen live. You can get on the property, not blow your deer out, really just get an understanding of how they moved through it, where their bedding was at. And so what we're going to do is, as we're going through and finding these transition areas and crossings and any deer sign that we're doing, we're dropping it into Habitat IQ. So when we go back to our computer, everything is loaded there. We can start to make some decisions based off of what we're finding here in the springtime. So we're in a maple hardwood stand here. We've got the stream running on two sides of this actually. And this is just a ridge that funnels up to here. And so it's a deer trail that definitely gets used. But off to the southeast of this, there's a cedar swamp with some knolls in it, and deer historically have bedded there. The clover plot that I put in is just 200 yards to the west of this, and what I've noticed in the last year or 2 years is that the deer actually have started bedding on the west side of that clover plot more than they do back in the cedar swamp. So just goes to show what one small little change on a property can do to where your deer are bedding. So we've been out on this property for a while. We found trail crossings across the stream. We found corridors where they're moving through. Been finding rubs and scrapes from last fall. We've recorded it all in the Habitat IQ app. So now we're gonna head back in. We're gonna put together our plan for this summer and see how we can put all this information to work. So we just got back from our walk on the farm. Really learned a lot about how deer use the property last fall. And just kind of spotted some opportunities to get creative with things. We recorded a lot of the sign that we were finding on the Habitat IQ app. Now it's sitting here on the desktop, and really what it's telling me is that this portion of my farm is just really underutilized. This is the clover plot that I talked about, and the cedar swamp over here where deer historically bedded, and they would make their way into this pasture. But now that we've put this food here, they actually use this area as their bedding area. And it makes sense that this is a busy spot on the farm with so much bedding over to the west of that clover plot. One thing that's really cool about Habitat IQ, you can start to really calculate your current score of your property, but then also run simulations and see how changes, even small changes, can make a big impact on the property. So if you look at my score right now, the Habitat score is a 10, and you're going to see why in a minute. The overall score is 257, and Habitat IQ is very confident that we have enough added to the map to give an accurate potential score of the property. So we have food and water. So really the one change that we can make here is the human pressure side of things. So this is an ATV trail, it does a big loop through the hardwoods. And right now with a baseline score of 10, if we turn that off during hunting season, right now we use it during hunting season, we're gonna save that change and you're gonna see the impact. So we're gonna recalculate the score here, and suddenly you have areas where deer are gonna consistently bed. Now, when it didn't show these bedding zones, it didn't mean that deer weren't bedding on my farm. It just meant that there weren't habitat zones or bedding zones for them that they would depend on year round. So suddenly, just by making that one change of human pressure and not using the ATV trail during season, the habitat score jumped from 10 to 51. My overall score jumped from the mid 200s to 386, and the confidence score is still 100. So just that one tweak really made a huge difference on this property. I started building a simulation here. When you start a simulation, you can start adding components to your property and test it against your current baseline. So this change that I made, I'm gonna increase the size of my clover plot, double the size of my clover plot, just so it doesn't get eaten down so fast. I'm gonna put some food back here, and where all of that buck activity was, we're gonna drop a plot back there, probably winter rye, so it's standing later in the year. And then this big open meadow on the west side of my farm, I'm going to put buckwheat in there first, and that's just going to be to condition the soil. And then I'll probably go in there with winter rye or clover. But those changes, along with another plot over here that I'm going to run buckwheat in just to build the soil quality. So when you take all of that into account, we're going to recalculate the score here. And suddenly look at what this did to the property. And you can see the bedding zones were really tucked around the available food. And suddenly what I just did by adding more food was added more potential bedding zones for these deer. So you can see that one small tweak can really have a big impact on a property, but when you start building layers and building more food, that really can change a property in a hurry. So I'm gonna promote this plan right here to my property plan because I'm really confident that making these changes and just adding that much food to this farm is really gonna improve the number of deer and the number of bucks that we're seeing.
So we're going to promote this to our property plan, and you can stay tuned for future episodes and watch as we bring this plan to life.